Howdy, howdy, ho, ho, my good humans. It is time to talk the vidges. I'm here with the homie Loon. And so I'll give you a little behind the scenes details here. This is how the cookie crumbles. That's not the how the hmm. There's something that there's some analog here that I'm trying to find, but it's not coming to me. Anyways, this is how the videos are
Or the
made.
content is constructed.
Perfect. That is a perfect fit. Yeah. So, how the content is constructed is that Loon and I will each pick a topic. One week he picks a topic, next week I do, vice versa. So, we discussed a couple weeks ago our draft if we were going to pick developers, like if we could have any developer, if we were building a console or building a publishing outfit, which developers, if we could just select any, who would we pick? And we picked a couple AAA, a couple AA, a couple indie. We revived a couple studios. It was really fun. I'll link to that in the description below. Would probably recommend watching that one before the. It really doesn't matter. But um, today we are going to be attaching video games to those developers. So, for instance, you know, uh, I picked BioWare as one of my picks. I will now be assigning BioWare a game that they're going to make under my fantasy publishing umbrella. It can be anything you want. It doesn't have to be, it can be a sequel to, a new Mass Effect, a new Dragon Age. It can be that. Or you can shake it up a little bit, create something totally brand new, throw everything on its head. I think this is going to be fun as shit. Loon, how you feeling?
Yeah, no, it was an absolute blast doing this. I can't wait. And like I said, I went a little bit hard, especially on one of them. So I was like, man, that would be a perfect fit.
Well, Loon,
So yeah,
I think
I'll let you kick it off
okay.
first, because I'm interested in hearing what you have in store.
Well, I'm gonna go. How do you want to do this? Do you want to go through our triple A's first, then our double A's, then just go down in order, or just any studio?
Um, I think it'd be interesting. We'll go from the bottom, so like the revivals up, and keep because the triple A's are going to be like the heavy hitting stuff.
Okay, yeah, actually that's right, because my revivals are actually really simple. I'll hit both of them off at once, if that's cool with you.
Yep, it's fun.
EA Big is one of the revivals I took. Obviously, the makers of NBA Street, NFL Street, yada yada yada. I We just need remastered collections of those games, and then after you get those out, brand new NBA Street game, brand new NFL Street game. Really, do I want that team specifically for that stuff? We'll get to work on the SSX trickies, and we'll get to work on all this shit. Maybe even a Def Jam game if we can find the licensing agreement, maybe get to work on that as well. But my big thing here is the NBA Streets game, the NBA Street NFL Street games. I think that there's a massive market that is wanting these, that is not being fed these. I would also really love to see like an NBA Street RPG, like NBA Street Stories or something. You know how they're doing like the what is it, Golf Story and
Yeah, yeah.
but think about that with like a real budget behind it. Actually, full fucking NBA rosters, but you're able to make decisions, alliances, all this crazy shit. People betray you. I think something like that could be cool. And, you don't necessarily have to have acting. It can all be text and all that. But yeah, NBA Street Stories would be the new IP, or I guess spin-off IP that I would create off of NBA Street. And that would be like the big next game in the Street Saga. So that's what I would do with NBA Street, or with EA Big. And then we did two revivals, right? For
Yeah, two
okay,
revivals.
United Front was my other revival, and no
I wonder what
explanation.
you'll do.
Not a single bit of explanation needs to be had here. United
Sleeping
Front,
cats.
sleep, sleeping cats too, indeed. Yeah, sleeping dogs too. Just do everything you did in the first game, blow it up, spend fucking billions of my imaginary money, and let's make this happen. So those are my revivals.
Oh, that's great. That's great. So for me, my second one was Piranha Bytes, and it kind of goes without saying as well. I want to see a finish to Elix, so I'd get them to put that out. But then what I got to thinking when I was like thinking like how I would want them to like evolve Elix, and I've mentioned it before, like, dude, bounty hunter games. Like they would make a really decent bounty hunter game if you gave them a decent amount of budget and what I because it would be able to utilize like the jetpack and everything. And what I
Yes.
thought it'd be called Most Wanted, and you're hunting down like you're a grizzled bounty hunter, and you're hunting down the most wanted people in the galaxy, and you're working your way up from like the
Yes.
top 10. And I kept seeing shorts in between me writing this of Inglorious Bastards and stuff, and I thought, dude, number one, Christoph Waltz, get him in as like the fucking de facto villain of this game. He is such a great villain, and booyah. Like just have that as a bounty hunting game because it feels like Elix could already be that if it had a bit more budget, if they could lean into it. Give them that, and that is what I'd have them make. And I'd have them aim for like a 20 to 30 hour mark, like playtime.
Yeah. Dude, I love that idea of, for one, I think Freedom Fighters had something similar. Maybe it's another game that I'm blanking on from the PS2 era, Xbox era, OG Xbox era, where they had like ranks of criminals that
Hmm.
you were going after. And like, obviously it gets more difficult as you go on, but having a jetpack and some vertical areas to explore, dude, that I want that so bad. Outcast kind of touched on that a little bit this year, and I've just been like, dude, that mechanic, having a jetpack to go vertical and not just, elevate across these long planes, but to actually go up and to enter into windows. And dude, that shit's so sick in games.
Yeah. So that was what was spinning in that. And then obviously Volition I stole, as that would have been one of yours.
Yeah, you took
Uh
that one.
the other the other thing. And I don't think because what would you guess I would have them make? It'd be a Saints Row game probably, and redoing that.
But I actually thinking about it now, I don't think I would have them do that either. I think I'd put them on a new IP.
50-50. I thought, all that they've excelled at in their whole existence was making criminal sandbox games.
Right.
Like Agents of Mayhem sucked ass. Like it was crap. It was so bad. So I thought, keeping them in a criminal setting but shifting it up a bit. And I thought Saints Row Criminal Underworld would be the name of it. So it'd be in the Saints Row franchise, but it would be set in the 1950s to 60s. And it's not set in America. It's set in the East End of London, in the height
Hmm.
of like the Cray twins, where they reigned that whole era, and just have it set like that. And big when I was thinking about it, obviously Gat is like a massive character, and all I could think of is just changing his name to Gov because it's in England, and just having
Right.
him just having that as like a as a running joke. And yeah, and it feels like we don't get anywhere near the amount of like British gangster. Like we see tons of films, and they're always absolutely beloved.
Yeah.
We never ever see, like you saw The Getaway, and that was it.
Right.
That is it. Watch Dogs Legion, I don't count in that because it's set in like some futuristic bullshit what if scenario. Like I'd want something way more grounded.
Yeah. Yeah.
So
And I
yeah.
mean, dude, I think that I kind of wish that Saints Row would have went sci-fi fully, just for one entry. I like they dabble with it in each game, but it's like all city environments that have a sci-fi spin to it. Like, what if you were fucking actually like, because that's the thing. You're gonna compete with Grand Theft Auto and do what they do, but do it worse. It's like that's tough, you know? But what if you're flying cars? You know what I mean? What if you're in some crazy futuristic thing where you're flying cars around in space, or you got these ships that you're piloting around? And I know technically that's obviously really hard. Starfield struggled mightily to get that to function. But I've always thought, man, because they they had some cool sci-fi shit. And I
Mm,
think, with Saints Row 4 was so fun and silly with the superhero angle. Like, what if you just totally went all in on that? Like, Volition had some stuff that they could have really pulled out. So I'm assuming you hire the OGs, get them back to
yeah,
work with
yep,
the real
yep,
tone, and yeah,
yeah,
absolutely.
and make sure it's nice and grounded in the OG Saints Row. And that would be also a 20 to 25 hour game. I wouldn't want it being too long.
Yeah. So we now move into the indies. And you set this up correctly, Loon, in terms of how we should position this, because really my revivals and my indies are pretty simple.
So
Um,
are mine. It's kind of depressed. There's really not all that much wiggle room.
right. Well, exactly. And I think that's you positioned it right to go through these first and save the best stuff for last. I I had Sloclap for one of my indies, which is debatable on indie. Um, I would like to see them make a Roadhouse game that's like straight up balls to the wall action, but like with a real story. Sifu was cool, but the story in Sifu was like, okay. So no, we're not having roguelike features at all. It's a real story. You play the real game. You go from one beat to the next. It's just the best damn combat you've ever seen. And we're also making a business play here with Sifu because Roadhouse was funded by Amazon, the movie. Roadhouse, the video game, is also going to be funded by Amazon, where we're going out and we're extracting some
You
dollars.
cheeky bastard. This meant to be an indie studio. You got that Amazon money.
We are making Slow Clap AAA, a AAA Roadhouse game developed by the team with more combat expertise and combat efficiency. I don't think that's really where I wanted to go with that sentence, but they make great combat, and Roadhouse, the video game, should be all about combat. Slow Clap, that is your project. Um, I'm going to go ahead and run through these next two real quick. Sam Barlow and then Half Mermaid. I have no fucking idea. I have not even the slightest idea where to begin with this. They made Immortality and Her Story. They're an FMV centric studio. I don't think that that's really where they'll end up. Like even just in reality, I think they will move on beyond that and create some pretty cool ass shit that kind of scales up. But I was thinking if they do kind of move from indie to double A little bit, which I'm tinkering a lot here, but I was thinking like a Joker game
Ooh.
by Sam Barlow with that fucking weird ass brain of his creating the story. That could be pretty sick.
The the new set Joker kind of thing, like
Right.
Joaquin Phoenix setting, where it's fucking
Exactly.
dark as hell. Hell yeah.
Yes. Exactly. Some sort of spin-off from, the movies. It doesn't even necessarily have to be associated with the movies directly, but that tone with Sam Barlow writing shit and like just totally leaning into the psychology of the Joker. I mean, like 30-40 minute segments where it's literally just the Joker sitting in a room talking, and you're like picking dialogue options as you're talking to yourself. And as you're talking to yourself, your brain has different responses to the things you're saying to yourself. And you're like seeing something different through your hallucination that you're creating by your own internal dialogue. Like just wild, trippy shit that only he could come up with.
Dude, that's dope.
Yeah. So that'd be Sam Barlow. And once again, I understand leveling up a little bit, but I think you could probably do that on an indie budget, and maybe it'd even be better on an indie budget of just having some weird, 3-4 hour Joker fucking isolated adventure. Um, Roll 7, the team that got shut down recently, give me Roller Drum too. Just with bigger, better, more interesting boss fights. They had a couple of boss fights in Roller Drum 1 that were really underwhelming. Make that more interesting. Make the bosses more scalable, more dynamic, where you can actually like Shadow of the Colossus-esque bosses that are interactable. I can skate up them. As I'm skating up them, I flip backwards. I do backflips, and I'm just raining down my max pain bullet time shots at them, and I'm seeing them look up at me completely vulnerable, unable to do anything as I'm just like outsmarting the boss. in Rollerdrome 1, it wasn't as much about outsmarting the boss. It was just kind of finding a simple pattern and repeating it. So that would be my plan for Roll 7.
Yeah, adding a little bit more complexity to the
Exactly.
gameplay. Right. Well, Team Cherry was my first pick, and who better than to pick up the Castlevania mantle? I would have them make a Castlevania game. I would have them get work in partnership with Konami because they just seem to be sitting on that IP and not wanting to do anything with it. And it would be more in line with the anime series that they did because Team Cherry excel at doing them kind of artistic, cartoonish art styles and stuff. And yeah, it would just be make it very, very similar to Hollow Knight in a lot of regards, as it's what they excel at. Have like quest lines and stuff like that, lean into a little bit of Souls inspiration, and keep it short and sweet, like 10 to 15 hours. So in the same vein, I think it was about 15 hours for Bloodstained as well. So it's the perfect like when you get past that, it feels like there's only so much you can do in a 2D Metroidvania. So
Totally. Yeah, that's a great selection. If you're going 2D Castlevania, can't really get much better than that team.
and then number two for me was Edmund McMillen, the mind behind anything poop related. My man really just can't get enough of it. Meat Boy, fucking Isaac, everything. And that is what the name of the game would be. It would be Isaac. It would be they've kind of stirred the pot with the Binding of Isaac for Jesus. I don't even know how it was an original like Flash game. Um, and it follows obviously him as a child, and all the items in the game are things that exist in real life that you put them in like you gamify it and stuff like that. Like you know nails and stuff would affect your damage output and stuff. I think it'd be really interesting to take it a step further and maybe draw a little bit of inspiration from like Hades. So
Mm,
have him as like an older character and just uh, it's really difficult because I don't know if you'd be able to like pull it off because you see so many things of where they don't they kind of get hesitant when it's like a teenager doing dark and violent shit.
right.
But fuck it. It's what I'd let him do. Teenager have like a more modern day setting as well because a lot of it is like I think it's like early 90s like interpretations of items and stuff like that, like modems and stuff are in the game. So just have like fucking modern day items. Hades speed and combat style like that to completely shift it up.
That'd be sick as
And
hell.
yeah, that that would do it for me. And the third and final indie for me was twice different. I don't know if it is technically twice different. Whoever is the team that makes Ring of Pain,
Hmm.
whoever did that, I would want. I couldn't like on the spot remember who exactly it was, but whoever did that, and I would just have them make Ring of Pain too,
Perfect.
because I still stand to this day. It's the only game I can say without a shadow of a doubt is a perfectly made game from a design point. Like you die in that game because you have caused that death. It is a
Right.
learning process. Everything is avoidable if you're willing to learn. There's no like curveball, oh, that's a bullshit moment, or oh, that doesn't work the way it should do. Like everything is so meticulously crafted in that game. The only thing I'd probably look at having them add is like challenge modifiers and stuff like that. And it's interesting because they have like dailies as well in a lot of roguelikes. Have like I think what was it? One of the Tetris games where it was competitive, where it was like who could finish it first and stuff like that. Do that for like a run, like be able to have it pair you with somebody who gets similar consistent like scores and stuff like that, and see who can finish the run quicker.
Yeah, like skill-based matchmaking somehow kind
Yeah,
of, yeah, that's really smart.
just to give it a little bit of legs.
So now we move into the really interesting spot. The double A's and the triple A's. Actually, I think my double A's is probably my most interesting in terms of where I really let my brain go. The double A's is really my spot here, my
I think
sweet
I'm with
spot.
you there as well. I think we're so we're so aligned.
Well, I think we
Yeah,
both like double A's so much just in
yeah.
general. Well, I think we're just such big fans of that space because it feels like that's where you can get something that feels on par with the top of the top of the top of the food chain, but it's still creative enough.
It has a level of creativity that isn't shackled by corporate overlords that we would
Right.
be.
Absolutely. Flying Wild Hog. Start off with them, makers of Evil West, Shadow Warrior. I would stay more in the Evil West sphere, obviously. I want them to maintain that style of gameplay, the, tight over the shoulder, shooting, God of War style melee. But and that's the thing, a lot of people think that these studios have to make massive changes to their foundation to, have that big breakout. But we talked about it earlier with Naughty Dog, where sure, they took the massive leap going from Crash and then to Jack and then to Uncharted, and then Uncharted ultimately led to their cash cow, which is The Last of Us. But like with Flying Wild Hog, I think they have a good routine, a good formula with their gameplay. I just think it needs to be something a bit more, which don't get me wrong, a Western vampire shooter, that's sick as shit. But like, let's use that style of combat and maybe focus a little bit more on like hand to hand combat. No real weapons. Let's do like a buddy cop game. What's the last buddy cop game we've got? I mean, I think you would have to go back to like maybe PS3, PS2 era. I can't think of the last game where you're playing as a police officer in like a sort of buddy cop style scenario. Like I think of Bad Boys, the movie. Like make something
Oh
funny,
my God, yeah.
you
Do you ever
know?
play the Bad Boys game?
Oh, it's awful.
Like,
It's one of the worst
I
games ever.
loved
PS.
it.
Did you? Oh my God. I think I got it.
It,
Yo.
it was it was my first step into just knowing that I like shit games. Oh, that's amazing.
Yeah, I got a copy of that bad boy.
Yes. Oh my God.
Dude, I remember levels that were just like totally broken.
Yep.
Like totally unplayable at the time. Yeah, Bad Boys Miami Takedown. But yeah, just something with that tone, man. Like it's kind of crazy to me that we don't see bigger games that everything just seems so dour and depressing. And we've talked about this 100 times on the channel, but like a good silly buddy cop thing where you're just fucking up nonstop. You have your more straight man Will Smith style character. You have your more outlandish Martin Lawrence style character, and it's just you're constantly getting into shit and totally, just debauchery. You're fucking up nonstop and trying to have to climb your way out of your own fuck ups. Like such a simple retreaded formula in the film space that's never been really touched on much at all in the AAA game space.
No, so that's a good shout. That's a good
Because
shout.
even when you get the cop stories in games, they're so serious, like LA Noir and like the funniest, when you're talking about like Rush Hour and you're talking about
Oh
Bad
my God,
Boy,
a Rush Hour game. We need that. Oh
which
my God.
absolutely do that, just take the IP, but no, make your own damn IP. Yeah, create something cool, your own, something fresh. Um, let's bounce back and forth on this one because I think we're gonna have both have a good bit to say.
Remedy.
Oh boy.
Game name. FBC.
Oh shit.
Stands
Federal
for
Bureau of
Federal
Control.
Bureau of Control. This would be a game where it's funny because you said about police. You play as a rookie agent in the
There we
FBC,
go.
and you go to several locations across the US, and your objective is to locate and secure altered world items or AWEs, altered world events. And it would have very, very dark story moments because you're obviously going into these like towns and stuff, finding these anomalies. You've got like this hard ass commander person with you that's overlooking everything, and you're obviously it's your rookie, it's your first outing, and you're still very green, so you're very hesitant because all your decisions impact the people that live in these towns.
Oh, yes.
And it's extremely unlikely that they will ever come out unscathed because some of them AWEs in control are fucking crazy.
Yeah.
Like the fridge that I mentioned and stuff like that. So it would be much more because what I envisioned was I don't think I would have it be open world. I'd want it a very tight, focused narrative. I would have it be in the vein of like how Alan Wake 1 was, where it's like you're pushed through the story and stuff, but they have open environments and stuff
You
like
can
that.
drive and shit.
Yeah. Yep. And it would be 15 hours to 20 hours spanning 2 to 3 like locations.
Yeah, that's perfect.
And that is what I'd have them do. And there would be several DLCs added to that game which
Of
tie
course.
everything together. Quantum
Yeah.
Break, Alan Wake,
Absolutely,
give it
dude.
all.
That's a fucking great, great selection. And I mean, that's also kind of the theme of what I feel like a lot of what we're doing here is sort of pushing these studios, giving them enough funding to kind of go do what they do, but a nudge just slightly forward in their evolution, like you said, of having more decision making, more like impact on what's happening with the narrative. That is something that, I mean, imagine Remedy really trying to tackle that and that
Hmm?
crazy branching. Imagine Sam like writing down, scribbling in the night, going full Alan Wake vibes as he's branching shit together on his big board. Yeah, man. Spiders was one of my selections for the double A, and a Western RPG. And I mean that literally.
Ooh.
I mean literally a Western RPG. Like you're in the Wild West, but in a role-playing game. Like Red Dead is incredible, but and you do have some impact in what's going to take place in Red Dead. Like the townspeople will remember your actions to some degree, but like you don't really get to make many like decisions that drastically change how the plot's going to evolve. You don't really get to make any. Um, and that would just be sick as fuck in a Western setting, I believe. Have it these small. By the way, this is off topic. Did you see the latest trailer for Greedfall 2?
I didn't. I don't think.
Oof. Look that up when you get a chance. It's
They've been cooking so like well. Each
mm,
game has been such a step up, even when they didn't get that big boost from Greedfall 1. Like they've been on this upward trajectory. Like they're bordering in on like maybe they could be a AAA studio one day. Like they're climbing and climbing and then climbing.
I know it's
It's
going into early
incredible.
access. Man, that trailer does not look good though. It
Oh, does it
looks
not?
it looks really, really bad.
No,
The
I
combat
misread.
looks
I thought
no, man, it looks rough. Like it
ah,
looks really, really bad, in my opinion. But I don't know. It's going into early access. It
maybe
seems
they
like
bit off a little bit more than they can chew.
well, it seems like it's almost regressing. Like it looks worse. Like it I don't know if they're going turn based, but like it's just look up the trailer. It's man, it feels like a pretty big drop off. But regardless, spiders, I do agree with you. The technomancers and the greedfalls, obviously, and like I just think that they do unique shit, and I think that the hand-to-hand combat in Mars Warlogs is surprisingly decent. Like it's not a great game, but the hand-to-hand combat's like totally fine. You know what I mean? And I would love to see them really lean into that heavily. And you'll have your your 1800s weapons and shit, but like let's make it something that stands out where it's a more melee focused game out in the Wild West. You're handling your problems with hand-to-hand combat and pulling off train heists and all the shit that you would expect, bank robberies and so well in those instances you'll have to use weapons. But you know what I mean? Like when you're in the streets and shit, like instead of killing motherfuckers, like just get into bar fights and stuff. Have it I guess
Mm.
I don't know why that's been my approach with a lot of this stuff is more silly, like toned down, kind of more chill. I've
It's
sort of
your
been in that
company.
vibe. Yeah. Yeah. So that's my pitch for Spiders. Kind of chilled out, literal Western role playing game.
All right. Well, mine is not going to be chilled out. It's Owlcat. Uh, going to be called Pathfinder Earthfall, and the premise is the planet gets nuked. There's no chilling out.
Hey, that
Yeah.
might be the chillest we ever get.
It's so if you obviously don't know the lore behind Pathfinder and stuff, that's a massive thing that happens in Pathfinder. It's the thing that kind of kickstarts and shakes up the balance of the world, I guess is what you'd say. From like the old powers, then establishing what you have in like Wrath of the Righteous and stuff are the newer species that took control. And yeah, it would just be a, what Pathfinder does best. Just a CRPG that's set in that setting of time in Pathfinder. I think that'd be really, really cool and interesting. And maybe like deshackling a little bit from like canonical stuff and maybe having it so that maybe there's an ending where you prevent Earthfall and stuff like
Hmm.
that. I think that would be interesting.
Hell yeah. Yeah, obviously I don't know much about I'm still waiting to boot that up. Hopefully after Baldur's Gate 3 brings it slow ass along, I'll be in my CRPG bag.
In
Um
2037.
yeah, right. Good God. My last one for the double A's is Asobo. Of course, we're talking about makers of Plague Tale, makers of Flight Sim. And for this one, I've talked a lot about chill and happy. I don't really want that studio to do that. Like they make pretty hardcore, oppressive, depressing video games, and I think that they just have a great lane with that. Of course, if they want to go and do something else and then get out of that dark ass headspace, then by all means. But I just say a new IP that's somewhere in that Plague Tale style of gameplay, sort of walking sim-esque, some light combat thrown in there. Once again, I'd honestly let this team create whatever the hell they wanted to. And regardless of what it is, I assume it's something that I would be willing to play or wanting to play. I thought a lot about Jurassic Park,
Mm,
and just because with the hordes of rats and shit and the way that they, of course, tech wise, we're talking about a much more difficult encounter there, trying to get
70 million raptors.
absolutely. Um, but yeah, going from little hordes of or huge hordes of rats to little hordes of dinosaurs, like I don't know. I think that in terms of not just making it like this action-packed, silly B movie thing, like I think they could make dinosaurs scarier than almost anybody. You know what I mean? Because I don't think of rats and think of like just this inherent fear. You know what I mean? Like rats are annoying more than they are scary. But they made rats fucking horrifying.
Yeah, fuck
And
living in that world. Screw
bubonic
that.
plague. Yeah. And I mean, I just think that what they could do with fucking dinosaurs would be pretty dope. So, think about like that movie with Adam Driver. I'm blanking on the name. Well, there that goes. But there was an Adam Driver movie that was all about dinosaurs and like the survival element, like how fucking terrifying it is in the just survivability of living in a world that's, you know, totally overrun by dinosaurs. So, yeah. If Dino Crisis isn't going to come out, and that's the thing, when Dino Crisis does come out, if it ever does, it'll be more action oriented. So just something that's more hardcore survival, spooky as shit with a good narrative slant to it.
65.
Yep, that is 65. The Adam
Got
Driver
it just
movie.
in time.
But
And that's you done with that, yeah?
yep, that's those are my three double A's. We're gonna have a dinosaur new IP from Asobo. We're gonna have a Western role playing game from Spiders, and I mean that as a setting. And then we're gonna have a uh, what are we doing with? Oh yeah, we're gonna have like a buddy cop game from Flying Wild Hog.
Right, my final for the double A's would be Deck 13, and it would be the Horus Heresy. And
Wait, the
that's a
what?
game, the Horus Heresy.
That's a game
Like Horus. Sorry?
that's already come out before?
No, 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 no.
Oh, okay, you're creating it.
No.
I was
Yeah,
like,
creating a
what
brand
the
new
hell?
IP. No, the Horus Heresy is a thing that exists.
I
It's
don't think I know what that is.
it's it's like the entire backbone foundation for Warhammer.
Oh, okay, okay.
So you have like the Emperor, who's like the god of mankind. He goes around and like fucking absolutely conquers the universe, and then realizes, hold on a second, I uh I can't be everywhere at once. So he takes a part of his DNA out and makes these things called Primarchs, which are his chosen sons. And the Horus Heresy is about his favorite son, as it were, turning against him and going on a crusade to fight and mortally wound him.
Very
And I think it
biblical.
would be, it really is. That is just Warhammer in a nutshell. Because the funny thing is, the whole irony of it is he went on that crusade, the Emperor, to eliminate religion. He didn't
Hmm.
he didn't believe in anything of like gods and stuff. He just believed in his own power. And then he ends up getting mortally wounded, and they keep him on this throne, sacrificing thousands of people to keep him alive, like the life essence on a daily basis. And because
Wow.
he's in this like vegetative state that can only he can psychically give broken, fragmented messages. So people have just taken over and been like, yeah, he's the God Emperor of mankind, guys, and his word is this. And they completely like warp it. And they've turned him into a
Damn.
religion. They've turned him into his biggest enemy that he was trying to completely like squash. It's crazy.
That is a
Fucking
fucking sick ass like concept.
yeah.
Damn.
So
Is that going to be in Space Marine 2 at all? Do you know? Like that style of storytelling?
that's the thing. The Horus Heresies like was pre all of that. So it was
Oh,
like a massive amount of time that was taking place. Like, because you're talking Space Marines live for hundreds and hundreds of years and stuff like that.
hmm.
And that kind of that happened. They put him on the throne, and that's when everything just went into disarray. So like
Okay.
the Space Marine chapters became
Because,
autonomous.
okay.
Yeah, because they were like, we can't really follow all one thing, so we'll just go off and do our own thing as to what we believe in. And if the Emperor like wakes up one day and decides to fucking get his shit together, then we'll all come back. But they've mainly just go off and do their own stuff.
Nice. I didn't mean to cut you off, but yeah, that sounds way cooler than I ever
No,
fucking thought.
it's a massive pack. I'll always have time to talk about it. It's such an incredible premise of a story, and this is why it
Yeah.
makes me so happy that it's finally getting traction as like a series because it's got such rich lore. But
Nice.
it would be set in that era, and I'm sorry, it will be a Souls-like. So Deck 13 make very good Souls-likes. And you'd play as something called an apothecary. And what they are basically the medic of a group. Their whole job is if a brother dies in battle, you drill into them to take their gene seed so that you can keep them going. You can basically clone them again because that's all they are. They're the clones, they're genetically modified humans and stuff. And that would be kind of what keeps it in that Souls-like thing. You're going around and you're fighting corrupted brothers as bosses, and that's what allows you to, you can create boss weapons from it. I think that'd be really interesting premise of it. and it would be 15 to 20 hours, and it would have two main endings. And I think it'd be really cool to have, because you obviously with your Souls likes you have like the what's considered good or what's considered bad, and you'd have like the good ending, and then you could just have one where you just completely just bend into the will of chaos,
That's
embrace
sick.
demons, and just be the most fucking metal guy going.
Shit, yeah.
So yeah, that would be that. Man, I would pay anything so far, and that I would pay for that. That's what I'd want if I could wish anything into existence.
That's
Probably
actually
more so, probably more so than Pillars 3. I know it's a spoiler as to what's on coming up, but that
you actually just lit something in my brain. Let's pick one as a guaranteed green light. Let's say we're changing up everything here, but let's say let's make a tie to it at the end and say like a different scenario where these studios all pitched us these games and where we
so
have to only pick.
one from each category of AAA, AA. You can
Okay,
only
yeah, yeah,
green
yeah,
light
yeah,
one.
yeah, yeah, yeah. Yep. Bingo. We'll do that. Um, okay. So now we go into AAA. And I'm gonna go with the easiest one here first for me. I drafted CD Projekt Red, Cyberpunk 2. All hands on deck for Cyberpunk 2. Make that game as big as it could have been. We've talked about this before on the channel. People do not remember that pre-launch Cyberpunk hype. That
Mm,
was levels of like uh,
delusion.
well,
But it
delusion,
could be that way.
but also like if you could have, if it could have launched, say it launched in the state that Phantom Liberty came out in, like, dude, I know Cyberpunk is huge and Cyberpunk is way outpacing The Witcher by like a fucking times two magnitude, but it I think could have been something even bigger. So all hands on deck for Cyberpunk 20 whatever 78. Uh,
I'll toss out you saying it could have been even, but do you reckon it could have been a GTA contender numbers wise?
that's I've said that before and I've gotten some flack for saying it on the channel. So I try to restrain a little bit from saying it because I do hear what people are saying where they're like, dude, Rockstar dwarfs CD Projekt Red. And sure, but like,
This is your CD Project Red though.
but what my response to them is always Rockstar didn't dwarf like Rockstar GTA 2 didn't dwarf Rockstar GTA 3. You get what I'm saying? Like Rockstar GTA 2 was not the same Rockstar that GTA 3 was. Like they became that after GTA 3. You have to have the game that makes you become that. And then GTA Vice City dwarfed 3 and San Andreas dwarfed Vice City and fucking 4. Like it just keeps getting bigger because they took that leap and nailed it. It felt like Cyberpunk was on the cusp of taking that. They were already humongous and created a critically acclaimed all-time great game. It felt like they were on the cusp of creating something even bigger, which
Yeah.
is staggering. But anyways, all hands on deck, Cyberpunk 2. You're gonna get to play as a drug runner, a police officer, or like a famous celebrity. Those are because you know you have like and you have the
Yeah.
corpo, yeah. So yeah, the Corpo, the Nomad, and the fucking Street Kid, I think was the three in 2077. It will
Yep.
be drug runner, celebrity, police officer. Those are your three options. All three will have distinctly different paths and distinctly different main campaigns. And it's not just going to be the thing where you have the opening cutscene that's different and then the game plays exactly the same throughout the rest of it regardless of what path you chose. Like it will have a real impact where maybe 3, 4, 5 hours of the game is different depending on the path that you chose. I think that was like one of my biggest complaints with Cyberpunk 2077 is that your background didn't really matter a ton. You had different, uh, like skill checks that you could use and shit, but um, yeah, that would be a big thing. And being able to see your character in cutscenes more. That would be another big thing.
Mm.
Keep it in first person, all that completely fine, but be able to see your character a little bit more in cutscenes. Those would be the two big stamps.
Shout out to Ubisoft there with like Far Cry 6 because they do that excellently.
They
Like all
do.
the flaws for Far Cry 6 aside, You play the game in first person, but boy, you see that character in third in cutscenes.
Dude, I agree. Ubisoft doesn't get enough credit for a lot of the shit they do, but yeah, definitely. That would be that'd be my move though for CDPR. What is your first AAA act of I don't even know what the fuck I'm saying at this point, Lou. What
It's,
move are you making in the AAA
I'll
space?
save it. Capcom. Obviously couldn't own the entirety of Capcom as that would be fucking crazy. So it was the RE team that I chose to scout from them. And this it's just a pure like what's the word I'm looking for here? It's just to benefit me. It's a complete
Selfish, yeah.
selfish pick. And it's just RE1 remake and bundle in RE0 on top of that, like as a two-in-one package. Because I've said it time and time again, we've talked about, I think it would get flack if it just come out as RE1 remake, because it'd probably have a very similar runtime to RE3, and that kind of got a little bit of shade thrown at it for being so short. So yeah, to help bump it a bit. But what I thought would be really, I don't, this is probably really, really fucking stupid, but not telling anybody zeros in there. You play through RE1, credits roll, and you end up going back to the main menu, and it's one of the unlockable things,
That'd
and
be
it's just
sick.
like, here you go, guys. Booyah.
We used to get
Kind
that
of,
secrecy more in the PS2
we had it
days.
in RE6. If you finished all of the campaigns,
Right.
you got Ada.
Ada. That is
Oh
true.
my God. It's like hats off to Capcom. Could have been in a better game, but hats off to
That
Capcom. But
is
yeah,
true.
that is what I would do, and I think that would be the perfect like because it would make people. I would love the egg on face moment of some people that'd be like, man, it's really short. Don't buy this for $60. It's just one game. It's like it's half a game, bitch. It's like play it to the end, you shills. I know which one of yous ain't been playing the game to completion. You would have made that comment.
That is funny, dude.
It's my
Yeah,
war against crappy reviewers as well,
I
resurfacing.
I didn't put it in the news, but it was reported that the RE1 remake is supposed to come out in 2026. I saw that this week. So
Give it to me.
I think you were on the cusp of it. Um, BioWare was another one of my selections. Maybe not the most wise selection, but like you said, selfish, heart pick, love BioWare. Maybe my favorite developer ever. Um,
Oof.
I don't know. That's tough. We will maybe have to do that at a certain point. But give
I
them
think for fanboyism, I'd probably be there with you though as well. Like Dragon Age is just starry eyes, Mass Effect starry eyes. It's just like can we just have them back, please.
right. Yeah, I don't I mean I love Jade Empire. I
Mm.
yeah, KOTOR obviously. Yeah, I mean they're incredible. Or were incredible. We'll see with the next Dragon Age. Supposedly oh, that's a whole different thing. Okay. Um Dragon Age 4 is going to be the final Dragon Age in my universe. It's done after 4. Mass Effect 5 is going to be the final Mass Effect. It's
My
done
heart.
after 5. And so here's my thing. This studio, they're gasping for new players. You know, supposedly these games aren't selling well enough, yada yada yada. It feels like we're on the cusp of BioWare potentially closing if Dragon Age 4 isn't a huge hit. That's terrifying. Um, so for Mass Effect 5, we're closing off the series with some crazy shit. We're going horror, dark as shit RPG. You can argue there's a couple horror RPGs out there, but there's really not. Like we Parasite Eve, sure, but it's not the RPG in the same sense of a Mass Effect. Like getting to make decisions that impact the journey in a Mass Effect game, but have it be dark as shit. Uh, have it like as a story where you have to go in and revive Shep and like you come across some ancient cult and you have to use their technology to revive him, but after doing it, it's like the
Reaper worshippers.
right, some shit like that where he's having hallucinations and he's seeing, he's having these visions of all this fucked up shit that he should be doing. Um, and Andromeda, there was a little bit of that in there as well. But like just some real dark shit where he's starting to hallucinate and ends up becoming like as you're playing him, the midway through the game, the objectives change and you start killing the people that you're supposed to be helping. But as Shepard, you don't even see it happening. Like your brain has totally become
Dude,
overtaken.
that's just the indoctrination. That's
Right.
amazing. So that fits perfectly. Because that's
So
what a lot of the fan theories were when he was having them hallucinations of the kid. It's
right.
because
And
he was in the early stages of indoctrination.
yep. And Mass Effect 3.
Yeah,
Yeah. Yeah, exactly. So just totally, brainwashed,
man,
indoctrinated.
that would be great.
Yeah. And this happens like, midway or 75% through the game, you begin and you're killing people that you love and you don't even notice it until like right at the end of the game, where like a perspective swap and you're playing as, you know, Garrus or whoever the case may be, some different race. You had something?
The Spec Ops thing,
That's what I was
where it's
thinking
a
the whole
filter,
time.
like a veil over you, and then when you're getting to the end, you're like, holy shit,
Yep,
they weren't who I thought they were.
absolutely.
They weren't
And
like for they weren't Geth for instance. That was Garrus.
it's funny you bring that up because I actually, another thing I had down here was making decisions in gameplay like Spec Ops, where it's like, okay, this dude, you're presented this dude that you're supposed to kill. Do you kill that person? And I don't remember exactly how they had it lined up. Or in Spec Ops, for instance, the one where it was the guard that he was about to get killed, and you could
Mm.
try to like shoot all the other people to save the guard, or you could kind of let him get killed and maybe sneak by. Like those sort of decisions that are directly linked to in-game moments where it's like, I can do this and have this outcome that will not affect necessarily the end moment, the final decision that I make. It won't have this different ending per se, but directly in this moment, right here, right now, I will have a totally different gameplay scenario based off of what I choose to do in game, not just in dialogue meters. So yeah,
Oh yeah,
that was
man.
um yeah, dude. The fucking I want to really pitch this thing as like hardcore horror. Hardcore horror. Like debut the trailer with uh that fucking it's that Nine Inch Nails song. I forget I have it in my head, but I can't remember the lyrics off the top of my head. Inside my head, da, da. Anyways, just like the whole everything about inside the head. You know what I mean? Like
Mm.
really focusing on that, but don't totally give away that plot point, but just everything about, you know, dealing with that shit internally. Um Okay, and then after this is long as shit. After we move on from Mass Effect 5, after we launch that, uh uh don't give up, they want me dead. God damn this noise inside my head. There it is. Okay. Uh so after we get that out the door and people freak the fuck out that Shepard mass murdered everybody that he loved, we move on to something happy. We go into a straight up heist based RPG like Ocean's 11, but a role playing game. So think that GTA 5 mission where you're making all the decisions of who's going to be the driver, who's going to be the shooter, who's going to be the guy that, sends the mission commands, like all of that shit.
I
But
like
it,
that's light-hearted for you. Criminals heisting. Then we're going to a light-hearted, family-friendly murder simulator.
I, well, I mean, I guess in comparison to murdering everybody you love in Mass Effect 5 to fucking robbing banks, I guess it's a little bit more lighthearted. But
Oh god.
I think about that mission in Grand Theft Auto 5, and I think about if that was an entire game. Like if the entire game was a role-playing scenario where you're setting up heists and making all the decisions around a heist, like that could be so fucking
Payday
sick.
just with a lot more RPG. because Payday lets you do very minor things and stuff like that. But having something where it's like very story centric, very RPG heavy, yeah,
Totally. Well, Loon, also you got to think it would kind of be like every mission is a suicide mission where you're assigning the tasks of who would be best at these different jobs. But unlike Grand Theft Auto 5, where you don't really have any, I mean, you have some ramification for what you choose, but like imagine, you built up this cast that you really fucking love, and then one of these people get killed in a mass or in a, BioWare style game, and they're no longer available just at all. They're no longer in your party at all. You can't use them at all anymore. And like, but it's not the suicide mission where it's the very end of the game.
it's
It's
every mission.
every mission. So you might have a party of 14 people at the beginning of the game, and then 4 missions in, you have a party of 7, and you're having to go out and recruit and replace them. And like, yeah, I don't know. I think there could be some cool.
XCOM style. Yeah.
I was thinking somewhere in that space where everybody can die permanently.
Awesome.
So that's gonna
Awesome. And
be
then you said Dragon Age 4 would, oh, Dragon Age 5 would be the final one as well for that.
now the Dreadwolf, the next one that's coming out. That'll be
Oh,
the last one.
we don't even get another one.
No, that's it. We're cutting Mass Effect. We're cutting Dragon Age. We're going on to something new, and we're going sort of Ocean 11 vibes, GTA 5 mission into a heist mission into an entire game. So that is my. I got one more AAA, and I'll go ahead and kick it to you.
Larian, number two on my pick. I would have them make so we had Divinity Original Sin and Original Sin 2. That kind of like setting of timelines kind of done, dusted. I think it would be really cool. It would be called Divinity the Damned one, and you would play as I don't know what you would call it, series, I guess, like big bad guy, Damien, and just either playing as him, making these really shitty decisions, which end up costing him a lot, or maybe playing as like one of his high ranking, like lieutenants or captains and stuff, and seeing him make more and more questionable decisions and just being like, maybe we're not doing good things as what we initially thought we were doing and stuff. And crazily enough, I would have them not do turn-based. I would have them go back to, I think they've learned enough as a studio and polish. I think they could go back to taking a crack at like a Dragon Age style kind of game.
You're talking Larian?
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean for sure. Yeah, definitely.
Like they did Ego Draconis, Divinity 2. Um, and it was like a little bit rough. It was probably like a little bit more polished than like a Spiders RPG, but completely completely off the mark compared to like a BioWare at the time.
You picked Obsidian as well, didn't you?
Yes.
Okay, okay, we'll get to okay, okay.
Yep. So yeah, it would just be a much because of what I wrote. It would just be a much cleaner and more modern take on Dragon Age Origins in a style
Right.
and the way it played.
Perfect.
And it would be fairly short as well, 25 to 30 hour mark. It's kind of like the whole identity of what I'm pushing across is just keep things shorter, man, because if you try and push that 100 hour mark for every single thing, nothing would ever come out
One
ever.
game every decade.
Yeah. So
Totally.
there we go.
All right. I really want to get to your next pick. My last one is not interesting at all. It's my money maker. I got 2K Sports. Got to make some damn money. Where we got a bunch of experimental new IP, a bunch of weird shit over here. I got Sam Barlow working with the Joker IP for some fucking reason. Um, but listen, we can make these games better. That's going to be the initiative with 2K. It's your games are good, but they can be better. And you're the moneymaker. So we're going to fund you and then provide you with the correct staffing and resources and time to get out these games in a better state. And in the meantime, I'm also going to make a deal with the NFL. I'm going to try my damnedest to get in there talk to old Goodell. I'm gonna say, listen, I want to sign right now, fucking multi-billion-dollar whatever agreement that the second that Madden loses that exclusivity license, you give us a slot in there so that, say they lose their exclusivity license in 2030, 2031 NFL 2K31 comes out. Like, we want to be prepared the moment that them motherfuckers lose that license. We want to have like 5 years of preparation for the moment that they lose their exclusivity license. We get to jump the gun, have all of that time. I'm going to have a studio that's working on that game for that entire time. Say it's 5, 6 years. I'm going to be funding that.
And
I know,
football's gonna look very crisp.
bro, it's going to be god tier career mode, god tier gameplay, shit. Like, I know everything is an RPG to me, but you will be playing a football RPG. Like, you will be in there making decisions. You will be in there like leveling up your character, customizing appearance off field, doing interviews, responding to the interviewers' questions with different prompts. Hit me.
What I've always thought about for like sports games is ditch the annual release
Live
and
service.
just have it as a roster update
Yep.
and have it as the thing I've always like really wanted because you see this in the football manager space. People do make mods of like retro databases. Dude, just sell the database of that year. Sell it as an expansion.
But how
You
much?
want to play $10?
That's the thing. You see these games are always top five bestsellers and they sell for 70. So it's like
Yeah, but
essentially
you're gonna be raking in the microtransaction of the like the ultimate team
they already
thing.
are
Yeah,
and
but
selling at 70.
I think keeping it palatable at like 10 a pop because it's just a bunch of names and faces that get ever so slightly tweaked. Like you could easily you're saying you're doing that for a 5 year period. You could have 20 of them ready to go,
Yep,
release them in batches of 2 and 3, and just constantly pump that in. So
for
it's a
sure.
complete risk-free thing.
Yeah. Yeah, it would I do that idea though of like if I was 2K and listen, I don't understand shit about business of this scale. But like if I'm 2K, I'm in those meetings right now with the NFL saying give us a slot and we'll pay in advance. Give us a slot.
I don't even think they need to do that, in all honesty. You've seen how big EA's balls have become. They ditched FIFA.
Right.
It's not FIFA anymore. They don't care. Like FIFA saw how much money it was making again and again, and FIFA was like, all right, we want like a big slice of the pie, and EA was like, all right, make your own game then. And they just made FC 24, and it didn't get hit in the sales department at all. It didn't
That's
make a difference. They nothing changed. They shipped more copies than they did before.
that's kind of gangster. Yeah. Listen, man, I I I uh I loved that what was it called? There was all the NFL 2K8, All Pro 2K8, where it was a bunch of like legends. They didn't have the current the license because Madden, got the exclusive deal, so they just went and contracted out a bunch of legends and built a game around them. Like there's ways to do it for sure without having the official NFL name or FIFA name or whatever. So absolutely. But what
Bring
is your
out a
final pick?
60-year-old Tom Brady, still
Absolutely,
throw
dude.
in.
Did you see the
Uh,
roast, the Tom Brady roast?
I didn't.
Dude, there was some wild shit on there. Did
They
you see
always it's Comedy Central, I assume. They always do it, right?
Netflix?
Oh, Netflix did
Netflix
it.
did it, dude.
Interesting.
And Netflix greenlit Shane Gillis's new comedy series.
Oh, he's been on
Yes,
fire. He's
absolutely
been
on
on
fire.
absolute fire.
Yeah,
I
it's
love
called
him.
they got a trailer for it. It's called Tires. It's just about dudes working at a tire shop. It's dude, it is going to
Shane
be funny
Gillis
as hell.
through and
Yeah.
through, just fucking finding something funny in what would be the most mundane shit.
Absolutely, dude. But yeah, hit me with your last pick, my bad.
He's gotta have a cameo from that uncle that fucking does them whatever he called the cheese toasties. He's
Oh, Yeah, dude,
Are
he's
you
got a
making
lot
cheese
of
dip?
that.
No.
He's got a lot of that crew back with him, who worked on the Gillian Keefe stuff for tires. A lot. I think it's the
Yeah.
same writer, if I'm not mistaken. Matt McCusker. No, wait, McKeever, Matt McKeever, I think. So, I don't know. I don't know all their fucking names, but yeah, I think it's a lot of the same team.
Oh yeah, man. It's amazing. Right. Well, I spoiled it already, leading up to it, and it would be Obsidian
I'm so curious about this.
Pillars of Eternity 3.
Hmm. Okay. Okay.
Um, but the thing is that it's a little bit more interesting than that because as of what I've mentioned with how Pillars 2 ends, everything will be different. So it will be almost its own new game. So it was more
Right.
maybe I could have probably renamed it something. I just couldn't think of my creative juices were not flowing that day. So went with the
You
safe Pillars of Eternity 3 name.
you know what I was hoping for.
It could have been anything like Alpha
Only
Protocol
one
2.
only one thing, Alpha Protocol 2.
I the thing that I was looking at is like from the triplet because I moved Larian to more of a Dragon Age kind of thing. I was like, do you really want two kind of muscling in on like the same space?
You
But
do.
they would absolutely like they wouldn't just be making pillars for the rest of their lives. So there's a few teams over there at good old Obsidian.
That is true.
It would 100% be more likely that there would be an Alpha Protocol 2 than anything Fallout related or anything from that studio. That's
Nice.
all I'll
There we
say.
go. That's all I need to hear.
And yeah, the only thing else I jotted down there was just a little shout out to the guy Mortismal. Like he did such incredible lore videos with the Pillars series. I would hire him in as like a role for something,
Fuck yeah.
either as like a
Consultant.
as a cameo character, as like a thank you, or even just as like getting him in with the lore because he's so fucking deep in
Yeah.
it. It's crazy. And that would be one of the longer games, 60 to 80. That would be the old Juggernaut.
Fuck yeah, Loon. Well, dude, that is it on our games, but now we got to pick one from each lane. Which of your triple A's are you selecting, my friend?
Oh, it would have to be Pillars. It would have to be Pillars.
Taking Pillars 3. I'm not gonna write all this shit down. I'm gonna take out of my triple A. Of course, I'm going my. Ooh, actually, I don't know. Am I going my horror Mass Effect game or am I going my heist Ocean's 11 vibe BioWare game? I think I'm gonna go my horror Mass Effect game. My horror Mass Effect game will be what I took out of my triple A
You know
picks.
what's really fucked?
What's that?
You just treated this like Tango.
I'm killing
It's like,
off.
yeah, your ideas are good and you make good games, but we're not gonna greenlight your projects anymore.
It is funny to see how all of this just ends up into evil corporations, even as we're sitting here doing it in fantasy booking. Just we turn into evil corporations. That's funny as shit. What's your double A pick?
Horus Heresy.
Okay, yeah, Warhammer.
Tech 13 Souls like. Yep.
I think my double A is going to be the Buddy Cop Flying Wild Hog game. Just something that we just literally do not ever see. Fucking let me get that. Your indie pick.
Oh my God. I don't know.
I can give you mine real quick, real easy. My Roadhouse game, funded by Amazon. We need some cash. Slow clap.
Oh, it ask me this question each day and it would probably change. So I'll just go with the Isaac game. Having sunk so much time into the Binding of Isaac, give me some more Isaac.
My Revival Studio. I mean, it's so hard for me to pick against Sleeping Dogs too. But you know what? For the sake of this, I'm going to go with EA Big, bringing back the NBA Street games, NFL Street, FIFA Street, whatever, Soccer Street, whatever you want to call it at this point, because we need more money. And United Front, Sleeping Dogs 2. I want you to make whatever the hell you want to make. Actually, no, that's not how this works at all, is it? I got to pick one. The other one doesn't get to live if I pick the other.
Nope. It's store closure for that. We're cutting corners. We've got to get that percentage year-on-year growth.
Mm. I got Cyberpunk. I'm fine. I'm fine. I got Cyberpunk, and I also got that heist game coming from BioWare. We'll cut United Front. We need some cash. EA Big. Let's get to cooking.
Right. The Mighty Revivals. Um, it just wasn't looking all that good over at Volition. They weren't making two very good decisions, and they weren't very good at executing it. So Piranha Bytes gets to keep their jobs. I'm sorry, Volition,
Well, dude,
but
that
it's
bounty
it's
hunter idea was sick as shit, so I'm down with
mm,
that. Shit show. Well, fellas and ladies and gents, that is the program for today. We appreciate you for stopping by. And yeah, hit us in the comments down below with some of your dream picks, some of your let us know which of your favorite developers, a specific thing. Which of your favorite developers would you want to work on a new IP and what would that new IP be? I think that's the thing that I'm the most curious about. You know what I mean? Because like of course I want Sleeping Dogs too. But is that more interesting than a heist Mass Effect style game? You know what I mean? By BioWare? I want to hear more about like ideas that people have out there for games. And I mean, if you're in the process of pitching something or whatever, obviously don't share that in a public forum, but yeah, go get your bag first.
yeah, and I think it'd be interesting. Pick if if it's of any interest, one from each of our list that sounded the most interesting. Like one of Brandon's games that you was like, man, that's really good. I'd love to see that, and then one from mine.
Definitely. For sure. Yeah. If you could get any of these bad boys greenlit, let us know which you would be the most likely to pick up, check out, and that out of the way, man. That is the episode, and we shall see you good people next week. Goodbye.
See you later.